Anyway, here, let's blast off. Or I already did blast off. Yes, there's a big Al Jazeera accusation that we will be talking about as well. This has been reported in Al Jazeera just so far. They said just a colleague. Oh, a colleague of yours wrote it? Okay, here you go. I swear either BBC or CNN sent me a notification with this headline earlier. This is the second school now. Yeah, this is a very big accusation. This is like a wild one, in my opinion. This is like, you know, this is once more evidence comes out of it. Once more evidence comes out of this, it's definitely, you know, it's definitely gonna light a fire under people's asses, in my opinion. I've also seen videos. I haven't been able to confirm it, but I have seen videos of the. I have seen videos of like IDF soldiers using Palestinians in Gaza as like literally human shields as they walk through Gaza. So those are the two things that I wanna look at later. We will look at that in a little bit. What we will look at now, however, what we will be covering now is some fun shit before we get to the Twitch sexual conduct update. No. Geldi mi adam? Okay. Ay. Look at this king. Look at this absolute king.
LGBTQ rights or economic stability?
Why can't you have both?
You need to pick one.
I refuse the question.
You can't refuse the question.
I do.
But you can't.
But I did.
But you need to pick one.
No, I don't.
I just said you did.
So what?
Can you pick one?
No, because they're both doable.
No. Only one.
I don't have to pick one because you can have both.
But the answer is both is not an answer. It's not a valid answer.
I reject your question.
You can't reject it.
I just did.
Can you pick one?
I don't have to.
Why?
Because they're both completely doable.
So LGBTQ rights or economic stability?
Both.
That's not an answer.
Yes, it is.
LGBTQ rights or economic stability?
Both.
Are you trying to troll me?
No.
I'm just wondering which one you like more.
I like them both.
You can't have both.
Yes, you can.
Not in this question.
Too bad.
Why are you trolling me right now?
Because I don't have to choose.
All right, what if I had to ask you gender inclusivity or economic stability?
You can have both.
You can't. Why you make this so difficult? I'm trying to pass my final.
Too bad.
Which one do you pick?
I'd pick them both.
But that's not a valid answer.
Too bad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys. I have to sign some shit. This is, why did he post his own L? It's still content. These guys don't give a shit. I had to buy on them. These guys don't care. They don't care if they got if they're taking an L or a W. You know what I mean? They do not give a shit. Ay ne vereceğim size? Gidin, yok tamam, ne yapıyorsanız yapın. Ne? Ha, onu imzaladım, al. Okay. Nereye gidiyorsunuz? Onu scan edip bana geri gönder lütfen. Yeah, these guys unironically don't have like a real serious interest in anything. They just straight up want to make content, even if they take an L, even if they take a W. There's no real purpose behind it. I mean, he is like a right-wing guy. I've seen it. I've seen some of his other shit, but it's still for engagement. Like that absolute pendulum swing has occurred, as I told you it was going to under the Biden administration, where now the counter, like the supposedly anti-establishment narrative is now, I guess, on the Republican side. So the youth that are personally rebelling against these institutions are doing that by being conservative, and that kind of stuff has like a lot of. Why didn't he answer the question though? Wait, what do you mean? It was perfect. He did a great job. This is precisely what you're supposed to do. He walked up to this dude in his flippy floppies thinking like, oh, this guy's a fucking, a loser. He's like a liberal guy.
Rights or economic stability?
Why can't you have both?
You need to pick one.
I refuse the question.
You can't refuse the question.
I do.
But you can't.
But I did.
But you need to pick one.
No, I don't.
I just said you did.
I don't. Okay, I'll look. I don't think I got it. I don't think you sent it. Okay. Kind of reminds me of that girl who pooped her pants who go around campus trying to debate people. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you don't have to answer that shit. Well, who says? For someone being like, why don't they answer it? Like, why? Why does he have to answer it? He did answer it. He answered it perfectly, as a matter of fact. He answered it exactly how he's supposed to answer it.
So what?
Can you pick one?
No, because they're both doable.
No. Only one.
I don't have to pick one because you can have both.
But the answer is both is not an answer. It's not a valid answer.
I reject your question.
You can't reject it.
I just did.
Can you pick one?
I don't have to.
Why?
Because they're both completely doable.
Damn it.
So LGBTQ rights or economic stability?
Both.
That's not an answer.
Yes, it is.
LGBTQ rights or economic stability?
Both.
Are you trying to troll me?
No.
'Cause I'm just wondering which one you like more.
I like them both.
You can't have both.
Yes, you can.
I like them both.
Not in this question.
Too bad.
Why are you trolling me right now?
Because I don't have to choose.
All right, what if I had to ask you gender inclusivity or economic stability?
You can have both.
You can't. Why you make this so difficult? I'm trying to pass my final.
What final, bro? My pronouns are fine Jesus. This is how you should always respond to these fucking dudes, man. The best thing to do is obviously not respond at all. But if you are going to respond, just do that. He's like, come on, man. I have a homophobia final, dude. I have a homophobia final. Please. You're making me fuck my homophobia final up.
Too bad.
Which one do you pick?
I pick them both.
But that's not a valid answer.
Too bad. Thank you.
Thank you.
I like that it's cordial in the end, though. Thank you. You know what I mean? Okay. All right. Have a good one. Kodak rizzes up Turkish girls. Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
They're just swinging us mid, so we should keep killing them.
Oh man, we're having a conversation here. No, I'm kidding.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry. I'm kidding.
Yeah, are you Turkish? You sound Turkish.
Are you Turkish?
Evet.
Yükleme biliyorsun.
Evet biliyorum.
Nasıl Türkçe? Herkes Türk mü burada? Ne yaptınız beni ya?
Yo, what?
Not only radiant, bro. Not only.
Yo, there's a guy.
Not only is she radiant, she's also Turkish, girl. I'm gonna find my way.
Yo, he's out C. What the freaking heck, man?
Do you play a lot of Valorant?
Rain is out C.
One enemy remaining.
Oh,
B,
shit.
B.
Player standing. Spike down.
Somebody is
Jet.
here now.
I like that he said Tarek rizzes up the Turkish girl. He just, in broken Turkish, said, do you speak Turkish? That's it. Like, that's what he did. New A24 movie was announced, and it's about civil war in modern America. Yeah, made by a fucking oi, bro. Insane Polish MP sprays people with fire. Yeah. I think this is really impressive. Okay. Yeah, let's start off with the anti-Semitism. Okay. Here is Polish far-right MP Grzegorz Braun extinguishing an official menorah with a fire extinguisher. I never swear on here, but fuck you. Now, I think it's impressive. I think this is impressive. A Polish man figured out how to work a fire extinguisher. You're really going to fucking act like that's not impressive? Come on, dog. That is a first. Sure, it was done to do a very clearly anti-Semitic act. Okay, surely. But like, it's one of those circumstances where you have to be like, well, you know, this is pretty cool that he was able to do that. Good for him. Good for him that he figured out how to use a fire extinguisher. Okay, never mind. I hadn't watched this video yet. It doesn't seem like he knows how to use it that well either. Never mind. He just kind of starts firing.
Panie pośle, co pan robi? Panie pośle, co pan robi? Panie pośle, co pan robi? Jak tak można było się zachować?
It's funny to be the only right-wing guy who hates Israel. Like, because, dog, what do you mean? They're your greatest ally. Like, what are you talking about? They're a right-wing government. They're killing Muslims. Like, what? Like, what a weird situation to be in. He's just like so alone. That's when it's like you are so anti-Semitic that you're just like, I don't even fuck care. I don't even want a far-right Muslim murder machine. He is not. Yeah, he's not. He's not anti-Semitic. He rolled up to a fucking random menorah in their parliament and tried to use a fire extinguisher on it. What the fuck are you talking about? That's it. That's peak. You know what I mean? I love people just being like, no, dude, someone actually taking, I don't know, a Quran and burning it inside of the parliament is not an act of Islamophobia. It's just regular protest. It's like, no, that's like Islamophobia. And this is the same shit. The fuck do you mean? He also hates Christmas trees. Oh, he's like a Varg-style Nazi. That's so funny. Apparently, Poland booted the shitty PM and has a better one now, as of 2 days ago. In the October election, the right-wing party did poorly, and they finally were able to form a coalition progressive movement. The new PM is Donald Tusk. The fire just scared him. Yeah, he is Polish. He's like, what is that? What is that? No, he hated the tree because it's not Catholic enough. He's ultra Catholic, not a Varg type. Oh, okay. I thought he was like a Varg style Nazi, where he's just like only paganism. The only acceptable form of religious demonstration is my kind of paganism. I will burn the churches myself. I will stab. I will do a self-defense style situation on a band member and stab him in the chest 35 times. And some in the back too. This is normal. Not even close to Polish? No, I'm trying to do a Varg accent. Shut up. You guys pick up the puzzle pieces, man. That's what I'm doing. I moved on from Poland. I'm also signing fucking documents right now. Remember when Kanye sampled a Burzum track? That should have been a hint. Yeah, there was that, but also he also sampled the Burzum. He also sampled the fucking Burzum album cover for his new album cover, The Vultures. I saw. I mean, he's just. It doesn't seem like he's dropped the whole. It doesn't seem like he's dropped the whole situation. Like the whole like anti-Semitism stuff. Like I think he still very much is a fan of anti-Semitism. Like he wore a fucking Klan robe at the Art Basel installation.
Czego pan tu zrobił? Proszę zejść na dół, proszę państwa, zejście na dół, to się musi przewietrzyć. Wstyd powinno być tym, proszę Państwa, uczestniczą w aktach satanistycznego kultu. Proszę Państwa, proszę zejść na dół. To mój telefon, panie pośle, spokojnie. Proszę zejść na dół, proszę Państwa.
I love this dude. This is a funny ass fucking situation. He called it a satanistic cult. Is Kanye actually anti-Semitic or just mental illness? He seems super unstable. Why not both? I mean, why not both? I think it's a big column A, column B situation. He definitely is genuinely anti-Semitic, though. Come on, dog. Anyway, let's watch the Twitch. Oh, Norm Dersh is live. All right, we'll start off with Norm versus the Dersh. This is a big fucking face-off.
About what we're seeing,
and then we'll do the Twitch
in
thing.
Gaza now is, to many people, now the very terrorism which Israel set out to destroy.
This is a huge deal for losers like me, I'll be honest.
It is terrorism.
Like, way bigger than skipping the top of the hour ad break and forgetting to run it and then telling you at the top of the hour there's a 3-minute ad break, and if you no longer want to see it, all you need to do is subscribe.
Hamas has a strategy. It's called the CNN strategy. I call it the dead baby strategy. Kill as many Jews as possible.
You're
provoke
a gross
Israel
person for saying
into
that.
doing what every democracy would do, responding. Then hide your tunnels and your fighters and your rockets behind civilians, knowing that Israel, no matter how hard they try to avoid civilian casualties, and why would Israel ever want to kill a civilian? It's absurd. It hurts them tremendously. But every time Israel kills a civilian, the world condemns them, and the United Nations condemns them. And then that process continues over and over and over again. The people who are being killed today are being killed as a result of Hamas actions. Hamas started it. Hamas uses human shields. If Hamas laid down its arms, if it surrendered, if it agreed to give up control, if it closed its tunnels, if it stopped its rockets, then no civilians would be killed. So it's a terrible tragedy. There's no good solution. There's no perfect solution. If Israel stops now, Hamas continues to do it over and over and over again. If Israel continues, it gets condemned and loses friends abroad and even risks using the United States. It's a terrible dilemma for Israel. All the responsibility, all the fault of Hamas for starting this. And let me just end with one quote.
On the day after,
literally the day after these horrible tragedies with murders and rapes and robberies, this is what Mr. Finkelstein said. It warms every fiber of my soul, every fiber of my soul. He called the people who murdered these innocent Jews, many of them peaceniks, he called them part of the heroic resistance. And he compared them to the Jews who were fighting against Nazis in the Warsaw Ghetto. It's that kind of animosity toward Israel before Israel fired a single shot, which makes it clear that no matter what Israel does, it's going to be condemned by people like Norman Finkelstein and by the United Nations General Assembly. I think it was Abiy Ibn who once said, if the General Assembly were asked to vote on an Algerian resolution that the earth is flat and that Israel flattened it, it would win 128 to 32 with 65 abstentions, and he would name each of the people. So the United Nations General Assembly, Human Rights Watch, Doctors Without Borders, these are not objective assessments.
Norm is going to fucking eat Dersh's lunch and dinner, dude.
The future of civilization depends
Norman
on Israel
Finkelstein was
being
blacklisted. Norman Finkelstein was blacklisted from all academia for eviscerating this man, okay? For cooking his ass.
I won't address the question of my remarks on October 7th because we already went over that ground in the previous program, and so it would be a waste of your viewers' time if I were to revisit that.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So let me deal with the Yeah, thank you. So let's deal with the substantive issue. Number one, what you seem to be describing as a new development, namely Israel's indiscriminate assaults in Gaza, that's hardly a new development, with all due respect to you.
I've lost the sound.
Israel from...
Oh, no, Dersh is doing the... I hit you with the 1-2, and now I've
Israel
lost the sound.
From literally day one set out as its goals. So if I can quote, first of all, the defense minister There will be no electricity, no food, no water, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we are acting accordingly. Now, that was not directed at Hamas. That was directed at the entire population of Gaza. I think your listeners understand what is the consequence of denying a civilian population all water, all food, all fuel, and all electricity. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that that is a recipe for genocide. Number two, you quoted or you had on Douglas Murray, who made a distinction between what he called the deliberate targeting of civilians versus the indiscriminate targeting of civilians. Not to want to sound pedantic, but Israel's leading authority on international law is a fellow named Yoram Dinstein, who I'm sure Alan Dershowitz knows. And Mr. Dinstein, or Dr. Dinstein, he stated that there is no fundamental difference under international law between the deliberate targeting of civilians and the indiscriminate targeting of civilians. There is no substantive difference. Therefore, under international law, according to Yoram Dinstein, Israel is targeting the civilian population of Gaza. That's another indication from the get-go, not from yesterday, not from when it was revealed to President Biden, but from the get-go, Israel has been engaging in a genocidal war in Gaza. Now, the genocidal war
Stop fucking
takes
complaining about how
various
slow he
forms.
is.
Again, I'm going to cite you old quotes. So let's take Giora Eiland, who was the head of Israel's
respect on it. This is a
National
legend.
Security Council, the equivalent of our CIA. And he said, quote, Israel needs to create a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Gaza will become a place where no human being can exist. Now, I'm not here to try to persuade Mr. Dershowitz or Professor Dershowitz. I am here to try to enlighten your listeners. So I would like them to cogitate, to meditate over what does it mean to say Gaza will become a place where no human beings can exist. Mr. Eiland, the former head of the National Security Council, went on to say, severe epidemics in the south of the Gaza Strip will bring victory closer and reduce casualties among IDF soldiers. And then there is Mr. Netanyahu, the prime minister. Not on one occasion, not from the spur of the moment, but twice in national addresses to the nation, very soberly, Mr. Netanyahu said, remember what Amalek did to you. This is a war between the sons of light and the sons of darkness. Now, as Professor Dershowitz surely knows, because he attended Hebrew school, actually he grew up just a few blocks from me, or I should say I grew up a few blocks from him because he's older. He surely knows that in the midst of a war, in a country that is schooled in the Bible, that when you say your enemy is Amalek, then you are calling for the destruction, the killing of every man, woman, and child. So with all due regard to Mr. Dershowitz, I have to say this issue of human shielding.
Chatter, shut the fuck up. It's
totally
live. I can't
beside
put
the
it in a
point,
faster speed.
because it doesn't even come into play in this particular situation.
I hate some of you
The
dumb fucking
orders
Zoomers.
from the get-go, denying food,
Or worse,
water,
30-year-olds who
electricity,
think
and
who
fuel
LARP
to
as
the
Zoomers in the
entire
chat.
civilian population. The order from the get-go to turn Gaza into a place that is not able to sustain human life. The order from the get-go in this battle between the sons of light and the sons of darkness.
Okay.
I repeat, I do not believe it requires a rocket scientist to figure out that from day one, which is to say 2 months
I get the point.
ago,
Yeah, you've made the point.
Israel has been waging a war of genocide in Gaza.
You've made the
Thank
point.
you so much.
You've made the point. Come back to Professor Dershowitz. Here's the problem, it seems to me. I've just listened to Norman Finkelstein at length, outlining
Norman
that side of
Finkelstein,
the
well-sourced
argument.
as always.
It's very hard.
Literally,
when you look at what's
well-sourced as
actually been
always. Come again with a
in
1-2
Gaza
punch.
in the last 2 weeks in particular.
Wearing
to avoid
down
the
his
conclusion that
interlocutor.
Israel doesn't really seem to care if it levels Gaza to the ground, as long as it can get rid of Hamas. My issue with that is, having defended their moral right to defend themselves as a country, is I don't think they're going to eliminate Hamas. And they're certainly not going to eliminate the ideology. And they're going to basically end up with a Gaza that's flattened, 2 million people displaced. Where are they going to live? Who's going to run Gaza? How does this actually play out, other than catastrophically
Piers
bad?
Morgan asking about what Israel needs to do,
because of what Hamas has done. We have to remember, first
which
of
is
all,
absolutely
you judge
nothing.
people
Alan
by their
Dershowitz immediately
actions,
going
not
back to
by their
October
words.
7
The quotes
to
from Professor
re-litigate
Dixon,
October
who's
7
been
to
retired
say,
for
look,
probably
the
25
violence started
years,
with
and
Hamas.
and has nothing to do with the Israeli government, or individuals. Dinstein is 100% wrong. I'll give you an example. Is there no difference between Nazis putting Jews deliberately, 6 million of them, into gas chambers and other means of death, deliberately targeting them, and what the United States did at Hiroshima and Nagasaki? They may both be wrong, but there's an enormous difference between deliberately targeting civilians, such as the Nazis did during the Holocaust, and engaging in war actions which you know are going to inevitably cause death of civilians. So there's an enormous, enormous difference there. Then he talks about Amalek and Hamas. I know the Bible very well. And of course, Amalek was a group of people that sought to destroy Israel. But when people refer to Amalek, they don't refer to the Palestinian people. They refer to Hamas, and Hamas is Amalek. Hamas is the Nazi party. Hamas are not heroic resistance people. They cut off the breasts of women and throw them around. They behead children. They put children and burn them to death. Yes, they should be destroyed. It's going to be very difficult. This is not going to have an easy solution. Israel may, in the end, not be able to completely
there it is.
destroy.
Going back to October 7th and making stuff up. Classic playbook maneuver here. Do not focus on the 18,000 murdered Palestinians.
And in the end, what happened is the Japanese and the Germans were grateful for it. And then the United States and Great Britain helped rebuild Germany and Japan and turn them into great allies. That's my hope for Gaza. My hope for Gaza is that the people of Gaza will finally
the Japanese
be rid of Hamas,
famously grateful for the atomic bomb,
and that the United States and Europe can then rebuild it better than it was before, like a Marshall Plan, and hope that
definitely not like generational
Palestinian
scarring from that sort of thing.
Will then have a two-state solution.
Yeah, but
I've been in favor of a two-state solution since 1970.
Alan, let me just jump in there. Only tonight, the Israeli ambassador to the UK made it abundantly clear: two-state solution is gone. Israel. I'll play you the clip. I'll play you the clip here.
Yeah, but he's wrong.
Is there still a chance for a two-state solution?
I think it's about time for the world to realize the Oslo paradigm failed on the 7th of October, and we need to build a new one.
I'm telling you.
In order to build a new one,
does that new one include the Palestinians living in
They're
a
getting
state
horny. They're getting horned up. They're getting arrogant again.
The question is, what
this
type
is
of
new.
Palestinians are on the other side? This is what Israel
No,
realized
do they
on
have
the
a
7th of
state,
October.
though?
The answer is absolutely no.
You see, when you hear that, this confirms. Yeah, but hang on, Alan. This confirms what many Palestinians have feared, that for 20 years or more, the Israeli government, and Netanyahu in particular, have had absolutely zero interest in any two-state solution. And so if that's
but
not...
let's remember that...
I like that Alan Dershowitz is saying the primary communicator, the fucking ambassador to the UK is just talking out of her ass.
2001, they came very close to 2001. 2005, 2007, the vast majority of Israeli people, Israel's a democracy, unlike Hamas. The Israeli people will vote for a two-state solution if the circumstances are right, if there is no Hamas,
Israel's a
and if
democracy.
the Palestinian
It's an apartheid
Authority
state.
will have elections, and if the people of the West Bank and Gaza vote for a peaceful Palestinian Authority, there will be a two-state solution.
I'm going to come back to Professor Finkelstein in 1 second, but again, today, Netanyahu has said explicitly there can be no Hamas-run or Fatah-run Gaza after this. He said it today.
Yeah, but he's not going to be in power after
He's got
this.
no intention of either Hamas or Fatah running Gaza. So who is going to run it? I think he thinks he wants to.
Piers Morgan cooking the Dersh because the Dersh is so out of pocket.
National security government, probably headed by people like Gantz, maybe Bennett. The people of Israel are going to decide, and the people of Israel get to make that decision, and they're going to decide on a two-state solution. The one thing that's clear,
that's crazy.
is with Gaza dominated by Hamas, there cannot be a two-state solution.
Let me go back to
but
Professor
without
Finkelstein.
Hamas, anything's possible.
Okay, I agree with that. I don't think Hamas can possibly be left in control. I just don't think that this mission is going to eradicate Hamas in the timescale which America is now clearly laying down for their support. Professor Finkelstein,
you may be right.
How do you see this playing out from here?
Okay, I would like to say a couple of things, if you don't mind, if it's okay.
Yeah.
Number one, Professor Dershowitz attaches a lot of importance to what the people of Israel want. And so let's look at what the people of Israel want. According to the most recent polls, 60% of Israelis believe,
he's hitting him with the
Jewish
Israeli
Israelis,
Democracy Institute.
60% of Jewish Israelis believe that
Cook 'em,
Israel
Norm.
is not using sufficient force in Gaza.
Totaling.
60% believe that Israel should, or the government, should escalate the amount of
94% of Israeli Jews in the latest IDI poll.
It's the Israeli government, it's the Israeli people who democratically elected this ultra-right-wing government. It's not as if the claims are made that Hamas has been imposed on the people of Gaza. But there is no imposition in Israel. I quite agree with Professor Dershowitz, at least for Jewish Israelis, it's a democratic country. And they democratically elected the ultra-right-wing government. So I think those are two very good indications. I can't say they're very auspicious indications, but they are very good indications of what the Israeli people want. Number three, I'm not now going to go into a long disquisition on the history of the so-called peace process, but I would ask your listeners, if they have the time, patience, and interest, to just Google what's called the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine. And that's a General Assembly resolution that comes up every single year for decades. And it calls for that two-state settlement on the June 1967 border, and it calls for a peaceful settlement on the basis of international law. Now, if you look at the voting record every single year, it's the whole world, including the state of Palestine, on one side, supporting a two-state settlement on the basis of international law, and on the other side, opposing. It's the United States, Israel, and usually some South Pacific atolls like Tuvalu, Nauru, and Micronesia and the Marshall Islands. That record
It didn't have for me.
written in stone.
It didn't have on
can't
my
be
end.
changed. And it makes very clear what is the obstacle to a settlement. The obstacle is Israel, backed by the United States, opposes a two-state settlement on the basis of international law, the law that has been defined by the International Court of Justice, the legal arm of the United Nations. Now, I'm going to make one remark now which you will find perhaps controversial or unacceptable, Piers. However, I hope you'll allow me to say it, and then you can engage it, as you said, in a civil fashion. You say that the actions of Hamas have disqualified it from any participation in a peaceful
What about the action of Israel?
Now, I am not going to make any brief for Hamas. It's for the people of Palestine to decide who should be their leaders, who should represent them. But I do have to ask you, Piers, and I respect you. So I'm asking you this as a matter of not rhetoric, but one intelligent person to another. I'm asking a simple question. If it's the case that the actions of Hamas on October 7th disqualify it from being party to a peaceful settlement, roughly 1,200 people were killed, about 30 of them being children. Why is it not then also the case that the actions of the state of Israel since October 7th, the deliberate war of genocide against the people of Gaza, which has left about 15,000 people dead, not 1,200, 15,000, and has left dead not 30 children, but has left dead about 7,000 children. And as we speak now, 7,000 more children are threatened with death because of starvation. I ask you, as a logical proposition, why isn't the state of Israel disqualified from any final
Bro, he took the long way.
He
took the long way home to explain that.
One last thing, because you ask, what do I believe? I will tell you what I believe. I believe, number one, immediately after the war,
you could have just you definitely could have reduced that a little bit.
The blockade of Gaza, that cruel, inhuman blockade of Gaza, that war crime in Gaza, that crime against humanity, the blockade of Gaza, it has to be lifted. But once there's a ceasefire, and once that inhuman blockade of Gaza is lifted, once the walls of that concentration camp come tumbling down, then I see two steps. Step number one, there have to be war crimes prosecutions. I have no problem in saying on both sides, but there must be accountability. You cannot get away with executing a war of genocide in broad daylight and then continue. And number two, there has to be a settlement on the basis of international law. That is the only consensus basis for ending the conflict once and for all.
Okay. I want to just give a very quick reply, please, Professor Dershowitz. I was going to end it there, but I want to give you a right of reply on that one point. You're a lawyer. This point about international law, when President Biden, the head of America, the biggest, strongest ally for Israel, comes out and says that the bombing has been indiscriminate, he is accusing Israel directly of committing war crimes. That is a war crime, if it has indeed been indiscriminate. Is this war now at a stage where America may pull its support because they believe that Israel is breaching international law?
It's not. Today, 10 Israeli soldiers, including a commander, were killed in northern Gaza because Israel refused to bomb that site, which it could easily have done. Instead, it sent in brave 18, 19, 20-year-olds, some of them considered children under the Hamas definition of anybody under 19, and they were all killed because Israel made a decision not to bomb indiscriminately. It has never bombed indiscriminately.
Oh no, Alan Dershowitz is talking about how people under the age of 18 are not children. I know he said 19, but
I'm a supporter of
Dersh,
Joe
don't
Biden,
do
but
it.
He's wrong. It's not indiscriminate. It's very, very discriminate. In terms of international law, Finkelstein is just dead wrong. I helped draft 242, the UN resolution. I was working with Arthur Goldberg in 1967, and that talked about territorial adjustments. Israel has the right to make some territorial adjustments. They shouldn't have had occupation of civilians, but going back to the 67 borders is an invitation to suicide. And you know when the blockade of Gaza will end? The day that Hamas is no longer in control, and the day when rockets no longer attack Israeli civilians, that's the day the blockade will end. The blockade is a good thing designed to prevent Hamas from firing rockets, using tunnels, and doing a repetition of what happened on October 7th.
I do not agree that the blockade is a good thing. I do think that the occupation of Gaza for many decades has been a terrible thing. The plight of the Palestinians has been horrific. None of that justifies October the 7th, which is one of the worst.
I like that he said. I like that he originally said, "Oh, the UK ambassador bringing up the two-state as a non-starter is wrong," and then basically arrived at that conclusion himself shortly thereafter
by people talking and reaching a resolution.
This is a 2v1. Piers is on.
Very much indeed.
You made it civilized by your. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Well, answers the next. Definitely.
God, I want them to duke it out for much longer. Like, I want them to oil each other up and just, like, fucking go at it, dude. It sucks. It sucks that this is, like... It sucks that this is the only form of Norm Dersh content that we can get. Yeah. There is no out for Israel here because its actions are fucking completely and utterly a moral failure, war crimes, just unacceptable, right? So it's a really difficult thing to have to try and defend so vociferously in the way that Dersh is doing. Now, obviously, he has a lot of experience defending Israel's unjustifiable war crimes. He's been doing this for quite a long time, just like Norm is very good at documenting Israel's war crimes, and he has been doing that for quite a long time. But the issue here is that, like, for Dershowitz, how is Dersh still relevant? That's a tenured Harvard professor you're talking about. Put some respect on his name. That's Mr. I'm going to argue about the constitutionality of lowering the age of consent. That's Alan. I'm going to talk about the constitutionality of lowering the age of consent, but just from a constitutional argument. Dershowitz, he did that. The GOAT. Famous friend of Jeffrey Epstein. You notice he was like kind of, he was kind of sad, probably because he's still mourning the loss of his bestie, who he flew on the Lolita Express with multiple times. But don't worry, he said he always had his underwear on. These are all real Alan Dershowitz quotes. I know it sounds crazy. Alan Dershowitz is much like Israel. When you bring up genuine facts about his life, people that are, uninitiated with Alan Dershowitz will go, "You're being anti-Semitic. There's no fucking way what you're saying is true." Okay? Except, no, it is literally true for Alan Dershowitz. Okay? It's just like, it's the same shit whenever, like, we talk about a new thing that we've learned that Israel has been doing. And you're like, come on, dude. That's like, you just made that shit up. That's like a fucking insane thing to say. Same with Alan Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz is also like Israel. They love the murder of innocents. See his most famous client. There it is, obviously. My favorite thing about Alan Dershowitz is that they always have him on. They always have him on Fox News. Like, always. And he ends up always finding a way to talk about Jeffrey Epstein victims no matter what they have him on for. He's also a hack academic and eviscerated Norm's career for getting called out, as you mentioned earlier. Exactly. Alan Dershowitz has also blacklisted Norm Finkelstein from academia for decades due to getting absolutely fucking obliterated by Norm Finkelstein in general. Okay? Sometimes Kellyanne Conway gets brought on daytime news shows and asks for her expert opinion. I'm just like, she literally posted her own daughter's nudes on Twitter as revenge for spilling the tea on her mom in the White House. Yeah, there's a lot of real freaks on the Republican side. There's a lot of freaks on the Democratic side too, but nowhere to the same degree. Like the freak behavior on the Republican side is like straight up way, way worse. So, you know, that's the Dersh, man. That's the Dersh. The Dersh. So, where did he come up with the cutting of the breasts and throwing around idea? I don't know. I mean, he's just cooking them up. I, of course, do not. Wait, what do you mean? It's wild how so many of Israel's biggest dick riders flew on Epstein's plane. Hello, Ehud Barak, former prime minister of Israel, was caught, photographed, leaving Jeffrey Epstein's New York rape dungeon palace in 2016. Yeah. Yes, the common rumor is that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't simply just CIA, but also potentially Mossad as well. Anyway, hadn't heard about Dersh's first wife until seeing this tweet. I mean, fear of violence against Jews would be a lot easier to take seriously if it wasn't being said by someone whose Jewish wife mysteriously jumped off of a bridge shortly after she told her family that the children were being abused by her husband. Like, sorry, Dersh, you have 100% had a hand in ending Jewish lives than the people you're criticizing. Just another brief chapter in the long life of Alan motherfucking Dershowitz. He is a interesting guy. Anyway, karmic justice that Dersh became increasingly hideous while Norm just got hotter with age. True. All right. So Germany is on one. I feel like this deserves its own dedicated segment. What the fuck is Germany on? Oh, Free Palestine ist das neue Heil Hitler, says Welt. Das Beste aus der Weltredaktion, Nachrichten, Reporter-Tweets, TV-Highlights und Allmeldungen. Mal Hand, mal Feed, immer News. That's right. Germany is out of fucking control. Somebody needs to do something. I don't know what's going on. Welt is a right-wing rag. It's a part of the actual Springer media. I know. Okay, I know. But don't act like there isn't insane momentum like this beyond Welt. This is not just simply the social conservatives out here behaving in this ridiculous fashion. Okay? Welt is obviously, you know, they are, like, this is the German Fox News is what they're on. However, the German liberal side is also out of control. Let's go. Fed meeting went well. Should be 3 to 4% inflation next year and 2% by 2026 and 2027. We don't call it actual Springer. We call it actual Ströme, please. Bitte. Anyway. So, yeah. Please review Norm's Twitter thread giving Dersh his full disgraceful professional history. I will only spam it one more time here. He started out at Yeshiva Bocher, is that how you say it, in Brooklyn. Then he graduated first in his class at Yale, and he became the youngest tenured professor at Harvard Law School. He divorced his plain Jane Orthodox Jewish wife in search of a trophy wife in Cambridge, and he managed to get full custody of their 2 children, unheard of back then, when the mother always got custody. His betrayed and bereft ex-spouse then jumped off the Brooklyn Bridge that then became the eternal skeleton in his closet. Pose telltale heart. Pap Pester? Oh, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Gross. Taste those pap tests. In psychic revenge, he then started defending pornographers, spousal murderers, and batterers, as well as rapists and other sexual predators, but the Times always dubbed him a famous civil libertarian. Winky face? or maybe not. In the end, it all caught up with him because he defended Trump in order to secure a pardon if he got convicted for sexual assault. Woke Harvard Law School and Martha's Vineyard could abide everything. His lying defense of sexual criminals, his lying defense of Israeli murderers and torturers, his destruction of little people who got in his way, but not this. So he became a pariah in woke circles as Martha Minow stage managed his retirement from Harvard Law School, and David Remnick's New Yorker bravely ran a hit piece on him. He's currently buried in a mountain of lawsuits that will no doubt follow him to his grave, and isn't it perfect? He's now mostly retired and lives in Miami. It's a cautionary tale in the perils of fame-seeking and the fickleness of woke culture. There are fates worse than laboring away in obscurity. This is, of course, Norm's like a boomer-ass, like a hater of woke culture, or what he has declared woke culture as a take on Alan Dershowitz. But, of course, Norm has a long history of ripping into Alan, and has suffered genuine blows to his career as a consequence of Alan Dershowitz, who, and what he's talking about here absolutely is 100% correct. What is important to understand here also is the dichotomy of liberals that espouse these woke ideologies, these woke ideals, you know, matters of social justice, as they portray themselves in polite society as though they are defenders of civil liberties for those who are marginalized, have absolutely zero issues with the likes of, for example, Henry Kissinger, or who, you know, enjoyed his time and his fame for many, many years after his tenure, or even Alan Dershowitz, who very directly contributed to society in a very negative way. Your haters, you're going to say Haas reading tweets again? Yeah, my haters are incredibly stupid. So there is not really, they are somehow dumber than I am. And I'm a very dumb guy, which is honestly shocking. Impressive as well. I love that that is the meta, is like Hassan only reads tweets. It's like, yeah, dude, from who? He was like actually canceled, to be fair. Yeah, unlike Alan, Norm actually was canceled. Yes, quote unquote canceled. For going against the grain, of course. And dedicating damn near his entire academic existence to not writing about fucking cancel culture and woke stuff, but instead about writing about Palestine and the horrifying conditions in Gaza. Anyway, Hasanabi, were the Israeli leftists that were on yesterday really leftists when they claimed they are not anti-Zionist? Wait, what are you talking about? They never said that. They said that they are anti-Zionist. I've never had an Israeli leftist on that isn't openly and declaratively anti-Zionist. That's number one. Number two, because isn't also those teenagers demonstrate courage and resilience and have actually taken a fucking honorable stance. And as far as why haven't I had Palestinians on, I don't know. Think about it a little bit. No, they didn't say they aren't. You're talking about what they were talking about. Another group. Beyachad. Ombim Beyachad, I think, am I saying it right? The Stand Together group. That said that the Stand Together group is still considered radical despite the fact that they don't openly declare that they're anti-Zionist, but they don't say that they're Zionist either. That is a totally different fucking group. You're too stupid to fucking recognize it, I guess. That's number one. Number two, the two Zoomers that I had on yesterday are literally conscientious objectors. They might go to prison. What the fuck are you talking about? And also, as far as not having Palestinian voices on, you're wrong. I have had Palestinian voices on. You just probably haven't watched it, okay? I had a pretty solid Palestinian scholar as well, a scholar of Palestine. But not only that, but also part of the reason why I can't have Palestinian voices on, despite the fact that I'm trying, and I've been trying since day one, is because they're getting fucking bombed into oblivion, dumbass. And as far as Palestinian voices in diaspora, I asked for that too. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, they said they aren't pro either. No, you're wrong. Okay? They're literally conscientious objectors. Shut the fuck up. Meanwhile, you're a dumbass. Obviously, Israel's on the right here. Yeah, dude, you're a genocide supporter. So have fun with that. You are an immoral scumbag who is defending genocide. You can fucking cry in your little circles all day, every day, and cry and cry and cry about like, you know, how mean people are in like some circles. Okay. Oh no, they're calling me a genocide defender. You are a fucking genocide defender. That's it. Framing them as just Israeli leftists is so wild. Yeah. Abi elemana çok salak diyorsun, kötü soru sormadı ki. Hayır, kötü soru sormadı. Ama direkt olarak diyor ki Filistinli adam niye almıyorsun? Filistinli adam sanki ben istemiyormuşum gibi, saklıyormuşum gibi söylüyor. Öyle bir olay yok. Hem Filistinli adam daha önce aldım, hem de aynı zamanda diasporada yaşayan Filistinli adam buraya geldi, konuştu. Hem de onun dışında devamlı I'm trying to have Palestinian voices on as well. You can't get Mohammed Kurd till this day. You got no pull. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, that's one of the first things that I did. Was reach out to Mohammed. Why haven't we heard from any crazy white boy voices? Might I lend mine? Also, I think you have to understand something. Okay? There are plenty of Palestinians in the chat, like this person who just said, I'm Palestinian. Hassan already covers all my talking points. Like, another thing that you have to remember here is that I am doing commentary for a Western audience, okay? A Western audience that might be right on the fucking edges of understanding things, okay? Understanding the Palestinian plight. There's a difference. Especially as someone from a Muslim background himself, okay, whose name is Hassan, this is the one area where my otherwise white privilege as a cisgender, heterosexual man, all of those privileges kind of perish away because a lot of people in America, in the Western world, view this conflict from the perspective of Islam versus Judaism. Okay? It's wrong. It's inappropriate. That's not the fucking story at all, but that's simply how dummies see it. So I'm already, in the eyes of many of the Americans, the Muslim representative in the matter. Do you understand? Which is why trying to balance that with Jewish voices, scholars in general, is precisely what I try to do here. Because in the eyes of the audience that I'm trying to change the perspective of, I'm already representing the Muslim, the Arab, the Palestinian side of the matter. Do you understand? I hope you get it. Especially because one of the most effective counters in this circumstance, one of the most effective counters in the heart of the collective consciousness of like the progressive American society or the progressive Western society, who you do need to make an argument for, who you do need to genuinely change the minds of, okay, is anti-Semitism. The conflation that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. This is precisely the reason why, because I know what it looks like. I elevate a lot of anti-Zionist Jewish voices. Okay? One, because they're doing something worthy, and they're doing a phenomenal job. And two, because to a broader Western audience, it's important. It's important for them to hear from the perspective of like American anti-Zionist Jews. Anyway, you foreseen it a month ago. After they managed to ban from the river to the sea, they come for free Palestine. Yeah, and they're doing that already. Anyway, but regardless, as far as like Palestinian voices being uplifted, I mean, I am doing that. I'm doing that every day. Go ask the fucking Palestinian journalists that you do know that live, that work, or Palestinian scholars and journalists that you do know, and see if they have an issue with my coverage on the matter. I doubt that they will say that they have a coverage on the they have an issue with my coverage on the matter. I'm not deriving these talking points just out of my ass. I'm also directly looking at Palestinians on the ground and what they are saying. Interview Motaz if you could, of course. Anyway, were you still trying to get Ian Pape and Gabor Mate on the show? Yes. Ollie London is now I guess he went from being a Korean person to deciding to be Israeli now. So cool. I'm glad that he's like he's on his arc, dude. He's on his new arc. Also, here's Raskin fucking shitting on Congress. Even Representative Jamie Raskin, like these Democrats normally rarely ever come out and speak out against this shit. But it's so out of control. It's so completely and utterly out of control. And it's such a classic conservative tactic that you got Democrats also shitting on the situation on hand. Like the whole conflation between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism.
Where is the common sense in the Congress of the United States of America? Calling for the resignation of private individuals at private universities would be a dramatic and unprecedented departure for the U.S. Congress, which has never before voted to tell a college president to resign. Before we affix this lifelong stigma, reproach, and dishonor on a private citizen, do you think perhaps we should offer them some kind of due process? The kind of due process that even George Santos got, and that Donald Trump is getting all over America right now for his 91 federal and state felony charges? I request, where is the common...
Ay, ay, ay. I saw this video like normalizers claiming to be like the chosen people of God and deserving more and think they are better. Do a significant number really believe that? I don't know what the actual population percentage of that is, okay? Anyway, we're gonna move away from that right now and talk about some other shit. All right, United Nations General Assembly voted for a Gaza ceasefire. Let's take a look. Serious question here. Doesn't Congress constantly tell private bank CEOs and other CEOs to resign? No, not like that. What are you talking about? They will question CEOs, but it's also not like a constitutionally protected right that CEOs have to like dump toxic chemicals, toxic pollutants into the fucking water in the same way that college presidents in private institutions are supposed to literally uphold the tenants. Like Elizabeth Warren telling the Wells Fargo CEO to resign over the fraud shit is not the same as Congress deciding we don't like what you are saying and therefore you have to resign. Do you not get that? Like, do you not see the difference there? Like someone being like, you have violated the law is very different than someone in this circumstance, Congress basically demanding that the presidents that are supposed to be upholding what they are supposed to do. Like it always goes back to the same paradigm. Okay? Which is there's a difference between good things and bad things. Okay? Congress presenting a normal thing, presidents of Ivy League private institutions upholding tenets of free speech in a higher institute, like an institute of higher learning, is a good thing. It's not a bad thing, okay? There's obviously limitations to that. Like a call to genocide all Jews would be a limitation to that, okay? Which is why it is not a part of the code of conduct. You can't do that, right? People falsely conflating that, especially people who themselves, like Elise Stefanik, who themselves have unironically defended Nazis and have tried to get straight up neo-Nazis elected into Congress, turning around and cynically conflating anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism and then demanding that college professors presidents resign is completely unacceptable. That is a bad thing, not a good thing. Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Israeli soldiers open fire on Palestinians. Yes. I don't know the details of this. I'm awaiting more information to come out of it. But yeah, remember, we are still going to be talking about there's still a lot to talk about with respect to the Texas abortion court case, which is a nutty one. It's a really, really crazy one. There is there's a lot going on in the world, but here we'll start it with the United Nations General Assembly voting for a Gaza ceasefire. If you want to cease the top of the hour ad break from firing up at the top of every hour, which is 3 minutes long, all you need to do is not vote, but instead vote with your dollars, vote with your pocket, and vote to no longer see those ads by subscribing for $5 or for free. Can you quickly summarize your take on the Twitch adult content changes in one sentence? Thanks. I have no fucking clue what the changes are. I have not seen it. I was going to look at that first, but we're diving into the news already because we're almost 2 hours in at this point. Yeah, here, SCOTUS also took up the appeal to decide on the legality of the use of abortion-inducing medication like mifepristone, the abortifacient. I don't know how to say it. Fuck, that word is so hard to say. Abortifacient? Abortifacient? Abortifacient. Abortifascist. This is a fucking hard ass word to say. But yeah, this is also a wild thing to take on a year out from the election, but I guess the Supreme Court's just saying YOLO is YOLO time. Anyway, you only live once, and if you don't want to watch those ads, you can also maybe get gifted a sub. If you're lucky, here's a 3-minute ad break. Now, let's get to the United Nations General Assembly voting for a Gaza ceasefire.
Assembly, where the world speaks its mind. A majority were minded to back a ceasefire.
What we are seeing is an onslaught on civilians, the breakdown of humanitarian systems, and profound disrespect for both international law and international humanitarian law.
Damn, this guy's good.